This is a man on a bicycle. His name is Zvonimir Kuchkovich. He is a prisoner of Dachau. The SS have just let him out to run an errand. He is not going to run the errand. He is going to ride the length of the valley to find the American army. Inside that castle are 14 French prisoners. Their guards are about to run. What happens next is a relay. 5 people. None of them had any authority. Every one of them held. Schloss Itter sits on a rock above a village in the Austrian Tyrol. In the 30s, it was an Alpine hotel. Edouard Daladier checked in during 32, studying the local currency experiment. After the Anschluss, it briefly housed the German alliance for combating the dangers of tobacco. Then Himmler wanted the building. The SS took it in February 1943, not as a hotel, as a subcamp of Dachau. 27 concentration camp prisoners built it, 12 from Dachau, 15 from Flossenburg. 19 cells on 3 floors, barred windows, double locks, machine gun posts over the courtyards. One of them was an electrician, kept on after the others went back. That is the man on the bicycle, not a servant, a prisoner. Because Itter held 2 completely different kinds of prisoner. The first kind built it. The castle called them the number prisoners. From August 43, that included 7 or 8 women transferred in from Ravensbrück. They did the cooking, the laundry, the cleaning, the labor. The people they served had a library, a hairdresser, and a wine ration. Same building, same years. Most retellings leave that part out. The second kind was 2 former French prime ministers, 2 former army chiefs, a union boss, a Wimbledon champion, and Charles de Gaulle's older sister. The Nazis called them honor prisoners. They were hostages with better bedding. Which brings us to the seating chart. 3 tables, arranged by who could not stand whom. Reynaud and Daladier had both been prime minister. Reynaud pushed him out. For 2 years, they ate at separate tables. Traitor, collaborator, hooligan. And Daladier was now locked inside the hotel he had once checked into. In 44, the historian Volker Koop records, the number prisoners planned an escape to Switzerland. It would have taken the VIPs too. They refused. Which mattered, because a year later, the guards left anyway. On the 30th of April, the last commandant of Dachau arrived at the gate. Eduard Weiter. He brought staff, wives, children, and a great deal to drink. At the castle, he bragged to Itter's commandant that he had ordered some 2,000 executions before he left Dachau. On the 2nd of May, he shot himself, unmarked grave, just outside the walls. 2 days later, the commandant, Sebastian Wimmer, left too. At first, he asked his prisoners to sign a statement saying he had treated them correctly. Wimmer had served at Dachau in Poland in 39 and at Majdanek. Some of them signed it. Then he ran. The guards went with him. 14 SS men, 1 female auxiliary, 6 dogs, gone. Which left the armory unlocked. The prisoners broke in and armed themselves. Several of them were over 70. But go back one day, because the relay had already started. 1:30, 3rd of May. Kuchkovich rides out on a work order. In his jacket is a letter in English for the first American he finds. The first town is Wörgl. The SS are searching it door to door. He rides straight through and keeps going. 35 miles up the Inn Valley, past checkpoints, past columns, past Tiger tanks. That evening, outside Innsbruck, he found the American 103rd Infantry Division. It should have worked. Next day, a rescue party set out with him, found 100 SS holding Rattenberg, and turned back. 35 miles. Nothing. So a second prisoner got on a second bicycle. Andreas Krobot was the castle cook. He carried a second letter from Reynaud's secretary. In Wörgl, the SS were shooting at any window flying a white flag. Krobot turned down a side street and gambled on a stranger. The stranger pulled the corner of an Austrian flag out of his pocket. Minutes later, Krobot was talking to a major in the German army. Major Sepp Gangl. Everybody called him Sepp. He enlisted at 18 and came up from the bottom. Ukraine in 41, Normandy in 44. In March 45, they gave him the German Cross in gold, not the Knight's Cross. His own efficiency reports called him a dedicated National Socialist with correct political views. So he was not a lifelong resister. He was, in his biographer's phrase, politically adaptable. Then he changed his mind. By April, his battalion could barely fill a single gun battery. He was sent to hold the Alps. Instead, he made contact with the local resistance and started handing them weapons. That is treason. The penalty is death. Everybody involved knew it. Himmler's order was simple. Any house flying a white flag would have its men shot. When the rest of his battle group pulled out, Gangl stayed. 10 of his men stayed too. That is who Krobot handed the letter to. Gangl had nowhere near enough men for a rescue. So he drove through SS-held ground under a white flag to surrender to the Americans. 45 minutes later, he was looking at 4 Sherman tanks. The man in the turret was First Lieutenant Jack Lee, not a captain. That came later. 27 years old, a college football player from upstate New York. One of the best tank officers in the division, his commander said. Platoon nickname, Hell for Leather. Crude in both looks and manners. A fine figure of a football player. An enemy major hands an American lieutenant a letter about French politicians. Lee read it and said yes. They left Kufstein just before 7. Lee's tank was named Besotten Jenny. At Vergel, a bridge would not take the weight, and the column got halved. What continued was 2 tanks, 14 Americans, 10 Germans, and a borrowed truck. Then the second tank, Bosch Buster, was left behind at another bridge. Remember it. They reached the castle after dark and parked the tank across the gate. Nobody slept much. 4 in the morning, grappling hooks on the wall. A small SS party tried the slope and got driven off. Count the sides in this fight. Take your time. Americans, German soldiers, 1 Waffen SS captain, an Austrian teenager, 5 French prisoners, all on the same side. The Waffen SS captain was Schrader. He had broken with Hitler after the July bomb plot. He ran the defense of the keep alongside Lee. His wife and children were inside the whole time. 8:30. Lee watched them sitting a 20mm cannon and an 88. The trucks unloaded between 100 and 150 Waffen SS, elements of the 17th SS Panzergrenadier Division. No reliable source names the officer commanding them. Gangl telephoned for reinforcements. What arrived was 2 soldiers and 1 Austrian teenager. A few minutes after 10, an 88 round went into the keep. Seconds later, an anti-tank round hit Besotten Jenny in the left side and set her on fire. The crew got out. Nobody inside the tank was killed. Everyone says the 88 killed her. The record says an anti-tank gun. And here is where the French prisoners pick up guns. 5 of them. Not all of them. Paul Reynaud, former Prime Minister, got a Tommy gun out of his own luggage. Michel Clemenceau posted himself at a loophole and stayed there. General Gamelin joined them. All 5 fired, in the historian's phrase, enthusiastically, if somewhat randomly. Colonel de la Roque fired until he was down to his last magazine, and a 5th man at that wall, who we are coming back to. General Weygand did not fire a shot. He moved people into the keep instead. Daladier stayed inside. 2 Polish-born German soldiers looked after him and said Hitler was finished. I regret that I cannot confirm that I killed 1 enemy. They're shelling the bajabas out of us. Listen, better get some doze up here right away. Late that morning, Paul Reynaud moved to a spot he should not have moved to. Sepp Gangl went out into the open to pull him back. He ran almost fully upright. He got about 10 feet. A sniper killed him. He was 34. He was the only defender killed that day. He had a wife named Wellberger and a young daughter named Sieglinde. The war in Europe had 3 days left to run. By noon, the defenders were nearly out of ammunition. Their tank was burning. Nobody was coming that they could see. And now, the 5th man at the wall, Jean Borotre. 4 Grand Slam singles titles, one of the 4 musketeers who won France 6 straight Davis Cups. He was also, from 1940 to 42, a minister in Vichy. He put 9 hours a week of compulsory PE into French schools. He banned women's football. Then, he refused to let French teams play German teams. The Germans leaned on him. He said no. They had him fired. Then he tried to slip into Spain to reach the Free French and got caught. Vichy minister and deported prisoner. Both halves are true. At Itter, he ran 90 laps of the grounds a day, about 9 miles. So he put down his rifle, dressed as an Austrian refugee, and volunteered. He went over the North Wall at the age of 46. 40 yards of open ground in full view. Then a stream, waist deep. 2 Waffen SS watched him wade it and held their fire. He walked out of the woods into an American platoon and told them about the castle. The American colonel gave him a uniform and a weapon, and he went back. He guided the relief in, and they cleared 2 Waffen SS positions on the way. Just after 4, the tank, left behind at the bridge, came up the village street. What kept you? The SS were driven off. Nobody ever produced a reliable count of their losses, so we will not invent one. By 7 that evening, the French were gone, which is when the reckoning started. You will hear, this was the only time Americans and Germans fought side by side. It was the second. A week earlier, Americans and Wehrmacht troops fought the SS together to save a stud of Lipizzaner horses. The French prisoners went home to 2 different receptions. Reynaud, Daladier and Gamelin got a hero's welcome. Weygand, Barotra and de la Roque were arrested on collaboration charges within days. Weygand was acquitted, Barotra's charges were dropped, de la Roque died before his case resolved. And the number, prisoners. Andreas Krobot and the women from Ravensbrück went to a displaced persons camp. After that, historians cannot trace them, not their names, not where they went, not what happened. Only Kuchkovic is documented. He ran an electrical business in Belgrade and died there in 84. Gangl was buried in Virgel's municipal cemetery. There is a street there named after him. Jack Lee got the Distinguished Service Cross. Then he came home, lost an election for sheriff, tended bar, and drank. He died in 1973 at the age of 54. Well, it was just the damnedest thing. 2 prisoners on bicycles. A German officer already condemned. An American who said yes. A tennis player who went over a wall. Not one of them had the authority to save anybody. Every one of them held anyway. For the true stories almost nobody tells, subscribe. Next time, the Lipizzaner horses and the cavalry unit that stole them from the SS.